Greeting. We're going to tune in on the Senate to show you how political strategists and war generals are setting the stage for our people, the black man and woman, to fall into a trap. He got to come out of this dream that he's in. He's doing things that he's been doing. They tell you this is the new normal, but you don't understand what that means. This is not normal, man. It never was normal for the black man to be over here in a land that wasn't his. But I'm gonna give a comment after you view this right here is going on right now.
And do the two things that we have been asking them to do for 2 months, and that is engage in cooperative policing, which is always our goal, and frankly it exists virtually everywhere else in the country but Portland, and to clear the parks across the street that have performed as a staging ground for those conducting violent assaults. So last question, Mr. Cuccinelli. In the last 6 months, how many officer injuries have occurred in Portland? The latest count is 277 injuries.
277 injuries.
Yes, to approximately 140 officers.
So that is not indicative of a peaceful protest, is it?
No, it is not. That's why I said rioters aren't protesters and protesters aren't rioters. There's a difference.
Thank you, sir. Senator Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Neely Cox, you mentioned in your testimony several times numerous references to anti-government extremists. And then you went on to mention extremists of all persuasions. That would include white supremacists and other right-wing extremists, such as the Boogaloo Boys.
It would definitely include the Boogaloo Boys. The task force that I'm helping to lead, Senator, is aimed squarely at anti-government violence, anti-authority violence. So yes, it could be racially motivated, like you indicate, with white supremacy, or could not.
Yes, I noted in my opening that there have been 0 killings by anti-fascists in the past 26 years, but in contrast, during that time, at least 329 victims were killed by white supremacists and other right-wing extremists. So in your task force, how much of the task force's resources and time is spent looking at or investigating white supremacists and other right-wing organizations?
Well, as I said, Senator, any group, regardless of their name or their radical ideology, if they're violent and they're anti-government, we're going to be looking at them. If it's just a white supremacist that's engaging in gang activity or drug activity, like the types of gangs that we prosecuted in the Northern District of Texas, that would not fall under the purview of our task force.
What was that? What would not fall within the purview of your task force?
If it's white supremacy groups that are not engaging in anti-government violence, such as the kinds...
Well, that's the thing, you see, excuse me, but they may not be engaging in anti-government violence, but they're engaging in all kinds of other violence, such as running over people. Does that not concern you?
I have no objection to your characterization as white supremacy groups engaging in violence. We prosecuted those in my district. The only point that I'm making, Senator, is we're limiting the purview of the task force to violent anti-government groups, whether they are motivated by race or whether they are just anti-authority, anti-law enforcement.
I think that is a real concern, because one can consider anti-government extremists to be protesters. For example, I would say during the Vietnam War, that thousands and thousands, if not millions of protesters were deemed anti-government protesters. So I think that's a dangerous way to think about it. Mr. Cuccinelli, you seem to, well, you didn't seem to, you described that what your organization did in Portland was following standard law enforcement procedures. So I take it that you would not be concerned when the IG of the DHS IG looks at the appropriateness of what happened to Christopher Davis, who was beaten by a baton and having pepper spray sprayed into his face while he was standing there. And nor would you be terribly concerned at what happened to Donovan who was shot in the head and had to have surgery. I would think that the IG would look into those kinds of force by people at DHS. You would not be concerned because
So-
this is all standard law enforcement practice.
We're certainly concerned with anyone at any of these events. Both of the two that you identified are being addressed by the DOJ Inspector General. Those do not involve DHS officers.
So you would have concern if DOJ officers were doing those kinds of things, pretty much
That I have-
unprovoked violence against peaceful protesters. You would have a concern. That's good to know. Last week, the AC...
Now, the husband of L.A. County District Attorney Jackie Lacey is facing charges for waving a gun at Black Lives Matter protesters outside his home earlier this year. Good morning.
Get off of my porch right now. Get off.
Good morning.
Get off of my porch. I will shoot you.
So you saw it right here on CBS 2 and KCAL when this happened, and that is the husband of Jackie Lacey. This happened back on March 2nd. State Attorney General Javier Becerra now has charged him with 3 misdemeanor counts of assault with a firearm. Jackie Lacey later apologized on his behalf, saying that there had been several threats on their lives. Lacey faces a tough re-election race in November. Several prominent politicians have either rescinded their support or have endorsed her opponent, George Gascon.
Pay close attention to what I'm about to say. It might save your life. If you're participating in demonstrations and protesting, it's the wrong thing to do to be caught out there on the streets. And if you're just going along with your normal routine, they tell you this is the new normal. So, but the new normal is not normal. They're setting up to kill you. And one way or the other, you're gonna be trapped. Either you're gonna be forced to take a shot that you don't know about, if it's gonna kill you or not. You know, a vaccination, or even to be tested. Could be something in those tests that kill you. And they're poisoning your food supply. They're poisoning the water supply. They're poisoning the air with it could be the chemtrails, or it could be coronavirus. You can't see it. It's, tiny particles, nanotechnology, and a lot of y'all, it's like the grasshopper and the ant. While the ant was getting prepared for the winter, storing food, the grasshopper was partying, fiddling, getting high. And what happened? Winter caught him. Winter came a little early, caught him out there. He got froze in his clothes. So you gotta do things different now. You can't listen to these YouTube all-stars who are not talking about what's happening around them. You can't be caught up in the foolishness. You can't be caught up into leaders that don't see no further than their nose. You can't get caught up with these guys because you like them, they popular. You gotta get caught up in someone that's legitimately concerned. This is Black Light.